Hello everybody and welcome to the SimGrid YouTube channel. You join me, Jack Werrell, alongside Luke Rogers and Michael Hamlet on the cameras here today for the 8 hours of Laguna Seca. And I'm not sure how familiar you are with Laguna Seca, Luke, but going off round 1 of the SimGrid World Cup, this being the qualifier for round 3, it's going to be a busy old race because all the drivers know that this is the final chance that they get, apart from the wildcard entry, to get to the 24 hours of Spa. So I'm expecting some proper, close, quick, hard racing throughout the full 8 hours today.
Yeah, there was no qualifying for this. It was first come, first serve. So I'm expecting a bit of field spread here. 39 cars around a short track as well, so there's going to be traffic everywhere. So it's going to be a mess, but it's going to be a very fun mess.
It will be indeed. And Laguna Seca, renowned for being a very, very challenging track, as you see on the cinematics, looking at the corkscrew now, one of the most famous corners in the world. So lots of different challenges that the drivers have got to go into this race, bearing in mind, knowing full well that it is not a very forgiving track. But I do believe we will have a track guide for you. So Luke, I'm going to let you talk us through that.
We're going to be in the BMW M6 GT3, which is arguably the fastest car. First corner is a corner in Neymar, and you're braking with the curb on the left-hand side. A double apex corner in the Andretti hairpin. Curb, throttle to turn the car. Curb again, run wide on the exit. Drift back to the left-hand side of the track. Brake with that two-board, coming inside the track, but miss that sausage curb. Now run wide again for that entry. Pretty much the same corner again here, but this time you're braking with the one board again. Come inside, miss the sausage curb, run wide on exit for a short straight. Maximize your momentum through turn 5 here because you're going all the way uphill, so you need a lot of speed on your corner exit. Again, miss the sausage curb, run wide, running up to a blind left-hander at the top of the hill. Turn 6 now, braking with the two-board again. This time hit the curb hard on the inside, carry as much speed as you can in third gear. Run wide on exit, come to the left-hand side of the track. You're braking diagonally to enter the corkscrew, just before the two-board on the right. You want to cut both curbs, left-hand side, right-hand side, and now a rainy. This is the corner where your car setup means everything. If you can take it without braking, your car's fast. Run that inside curb, run wide again, shift to the left-hand side of the track, two-board, in, miss sausage curb, run left-hand side of the track wide. One more corner to go, maximize your exit here, two-board, inside, miss the dirt, run wide on exit, maximize your exit speed, and now shortest run to the line for a lap of Laguna Seca. It's a short lap, it's a tough lap, and there are so many places where you can make a mistake.
So a very, very challenging circuit there. Thank you very much, Luke, for talking us through a lap here at Laguna Seca. And you can just see the different challenges that the drivers will have to face with those sausage curbs. Like you say, you've got to miss a couple, but almost aim for a couple as well. And we are now entering the qualifying stage of the race. We're just seeing the latter stages of free practice. So when we do get into the qualifying session, this is where the drivers will qualify on where they will start in the race. And with 39 cars registered, the leader will be going through turn 1 or turn 2, pardon me, the Andretti hairpin, while the very tail end of the grid will only just be crossing the finish line. So just on lap 1, there's a massive spread from top to bottom of the field. So going into the 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour mark, you can imagine what a part traffic will play in this race.
Yeah, I'm loving the diversity of cars we have as well. We have, I think, every car represented here. We've got a couple Nissans, the token underdog in GT3 racing these days, but yeah, every car is represented, and that's really because Laguna Seca is a track where it sort of has every type of corner. There are fast corners, there's hairpins, there's the corkscrew, which is just a beast in itself. You've got the rainy curve, which really suits those mid-engine cars. So you're going to see cars like the BMW, the Mercedes, really excel on the front straight, really excel in the corners where stability is needed, like turn 5, and then the Porsches, the McLarens, the Audis, the Ferraris, they're all going to come back to places like turn 9. The Andretti hairpin for the Porsche, where the braking is so important. So it's a track that challenges every car in a different way and challenges every driver through every corner, really, because you have to be perfect to get lap time here. And this corner really is where you gain all your time. You want to cut both curbs, you want to straight line the corner as much as possible, but you also want to make sure you don't go off track, because I feel like the guys at the front are going to be the people that don't make mistakes in qualifying. They don't lose any laps, because you are going to have traffic, as we said. So if you're losing laps to going off track in places like the corkscrew, you might not get another clean lap.
No, definitely not. Like you say, it is a short track, but it's a very, very physical track as well. So very little time for rest behind the wheels or behind the wheel of these GT3 cars. So you've got to make sure you're on it throughout the entire race. And if you're filling your full 65-minute stint allocation, at that point you've got to dive into the pits. Whether you choose to continue on, just get a new set of tyres or fill the car up with fuel, or you decide to hand over to one of your teammates, you don't really get a break. That is the most amount of downtime you get when you're in the pit lane. So it's going to be a massive challenge for the drivers out on circuit, and this is the all-important bit. This is where you can make a difference and set the tone for your race. If you can get towards the pointy end of the field and get that really good qualifying time in, it will set you up for what could be quite a good couple of opening stints, and then just focus on strategy going into the latter stages of the race.
And we look at turn 10 and 11, how many cars are waiting to start their hot lap? And now we're watching a car that's on the hot lap, only 2 corners behind. So it's going to be very tight. With this many cars on the field, I expect Sammy's going to run into traffic before the end of his lap. Yeah, he's actually going to hit the tail of the field right now. So I hope these guys get out of the way, because this is going to be a really massive one. Oh, he gets off track. That's his lap over. I mean, we see these guys stacking up. I'm expecting we're going to get some penalties here. Maybe not from here, it's a bit unfortunate. But at some point during qualifying, I'm expecting some penalties for blocking the track.
Yeah,
that's one thing you need to avoid. You need to avoid this, because really I think with this track, it's not the easiest place to overtake in the world. So I think track position is going to be quite an important stuff. We've already got a car around in the last turn. I don't even think he got to start his hot lap before that happened.
Yeah, definitely. Track position is really going to be where it's at, because, like you say, very hard to overtake here. I think the main overtaking zones are going to be the heavy braking zones. So the last corner and the corner we're looking at now into the Andretti hairpin. If you get your nose up the inside and almost force the move, you might get it on the way in, but the cutback will always be an opportunity on the way out. So lots of different overtaking opportunities for the drivers to contend with. And like you say, yeah, all the drivers stacking up, going into the final corner to get a bit of clean air and get that fast lap in. But so many people are all trying to do the same. You end up slowing yourself down more than you'd like, and you can see what seems to be a sea of Nissans. We haven't got many out on circuit, but it just looks like we've got loads, because Nico van Hulp is just crossing the line to start his flying lap. We're now looking at Misha in the number 706 Mercedes, letting all the traffic by, not on a flying lap as yet. But the drivers starting to post their banker laps in, and with still 15 minutes of the session to go, the track should clear up, whether drivers dive into the pit lane to get a fresh set of boots to go back out and hit the track again, or they just decide to keep running throughout the entire session, properly get in the zone and see whether they can get their lap down as short as possible. But with so many cars out on circuit, you might set yourself up for a good first half of the lap, but like we've already seen, the latter half of the lap, it can just be congested, and there you go, all your hard work is put to waste.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of luck in terms of traffic, but also a lot of skill. I think traffic management is a real skill, especially in qualifying, getting that clean air for your run. And even if you do have to follow a car, making sure that the gap's at least big enough so that if maybe they make a mistake, you can avoid them without losing time or too much time. We've already seen a couple 121s. I think coming into this, we were expecting pole time to be sort of a low 21. We've seen a couple highs, including Jardia managing to do one in a Nissan, which until today I didn't actually think was possible. So it's pretty cool to see, because that really is the car that we were sort of expecting to not be competitive. Right? All the other cars are absolutely rapid, and the Nissan, I mean, when you have setups, it's good, but in terms of on preset, if you compare all the cars, the Nissan is the worst one. So seeing a Nissan at the front, or near the front, is something I'm quite happy with, because that basically means... Oh, is it? Has it changed? Yeah, the BMW is rapid here, but from what I've seen, the Nissan... I mean, it is the best track for the Nissan, but it's the Nissan. So, it is still the underdog.
I've got to add, I don't have massive amounts of experience in the Nissan. I tend to spend a lot of my time in the Aston Martins, purely because that's what I'm cooking. So obviously, I like to drive. I'm slightly quicker in. But looking at the timing that we've currently got set, the provisional pole time for the moment is a 1 minute 21.588, set by Sami Kutula in a Nissan. He has gone and put it on provisional pole position in the number 878 machine. Andrea Benedetti has put his Porsche on provisional P2 with a 1 minute 21.816, and then what is 500ths behind is Darren King in his BMW with a 1 minute 21.876. So already cars being that close only at the start of qualifying. What is the race going to hold? I'm going to say we're going to see 5, 4, or 4, 5, maybe even 6 car battles just to get the positions. We're seeing James de Havilland. There you go. We knew he was a second up, but wasn't quite expecting that. So that's James in the number 349 Porsche has gone to the top of the timing screens with a 1 minute 21.546. And just seeing this competitive nature in qualifying, it's just going to set the tone for the race, I think.
Yeah, 4 different car manufacturers in the top 5 at the minute, so I think it's actually back to 4 in the top 4. So it's going to be a diverse field, a competitive field. But you see that field spread, back to 34th, we've got about 3 seconds in it. And 3 seconds a lap, you're looking at what, 20 laps, 20, 30 laps before you catch a guy. So I think there's going to be a lot of traffic this race. But yeah, at the front, I think it's going to be really competitive. I'm expecting maybe 14, 15 cars, within a second of each other at the front. That's what we've got at the minute. I expect it will stay somewhat similar, but I'm interested to see if anyone can get to the sort of the 121 flats, because it is possible. 20 is possible around here if you're an alien. Obviously, most of the aliens have already qualified. They qualified to the Bathurst thing we did. So I'm expecting a couple of surprise contenders for the later Spa. The top 3 here, obviously you go to Spa. We haven't even mentioned that yet, I don't think. The top 3 here make it to the Spa 24 hours in the end of October. I'm intrigued to see if these teams will actually be competitive there, because we had that qualifying with Bathurst for the actual World Cup itself. Whether some of these teams can come in, make it through sort of the gauntlet of 8 hours of Laguna Seca to Spa and then compete. But based on the times we're seeing so far, these are some really competitive laps.
They really are, and it's good to see. This is qualifying. We see cars like being very close together, trying to carve their way through the traffic, and this is when the drivers have got really the most stress in theory, because they know they have to get that track position, like you previously mentioned. So mistakes can start to creep in, but to still see cars within a tenth of a second of each other, if that, it's just insane. And like you say, like we were talking about before the stream, yes, strategy can play a part in the race, but you can enter this race with a strategy for Spa, because you don't want to run what might necessarily be the fastest car here, but then massively compromise your race if you get to the Spa 24 hours. So you've got to go into this sort of picking a bit of middle ground, get a car that's competitive at both circuits. Here we're looking at the number 44 machine, the number 44 Porsche of Arno Visagi, going round the final corner, 6/10 up, to make that 7/10 up on his fastest time. This will put him to provisional pole if he keeps it up, so goes from 9th right towards the top of the order, almost or over a 10th and a half clear, a 1 minute 21.381. And I know you said, Luke, that we might see a couple of drivers creep into the lower half of the 21s, but at this rate, we're going to be in the 20s.
I really hope we are, because this track's taking rubber from the car's tyres. Obviously, some of the cars are losing a little bit of fuel that they have, and because generally speaking, these qualifying sessions, you either stay out or you split it into 2 10 minutes. But normally people just stay out and do a 20-minute stint, because the tyres degradation's not that big a factor. So we're seeing the cars now get to the lower fuel runs and sneaking a 10th here, a 10th there. Can I get a bit more curbing, through the place like turn 6, through the corkscrew, maybe cut the corner a tiny bit more, just to optimize your lap. And as you said, maybe we'll get into the 20s. And if we do, they are some monstrous lap times. But we're starting to see the Porsches now sort of take over the top 10. I think about half the top 10's are Porsche now. But I really don't think that's representative of the true sort of overall pace of this track. I mean, the Porsche is good at certain corners. A rainy curve, turn 9 just after the corkscrew is the Porsche. It might as well be the Porsche curve. It is so good for that car. It's probably the only car that can take the whole thing without fully lifting off the throttle, just because of the amount of downforce the car generates through the corner. So it is a track that suits the Porsche, but I'm expecting to see BMWs, as we said, Nissans with a good setup with a lot of preparation can compete at the front as well. And we are sort of seeing that, with that Nissan in 4th, BMW in 5th, the Mercedes as well. They've got that long front straight. You've got a lot of acceleration zones with the Mercedes excels. So all these cars really can compete.
And like you say, the Porsches are taking over the top 10 at the moment. We've got a Porsche provisional P1, provisional P2 and provisional P3, and separating the top 3 is 1.5 tenths of a second. Well, I say that, but Darren King, he's got to go and ruin it for me, hasn't he? He goes up into provisional P2, only 0.05 of a second behind P1, and now we're looking at Jardier 6 tenths up. Let's see what he does when he crosses the line. Can he put it on provisional pole? There you go, a 1 minute 21.354 from the Nissan. So a great lap from Jardier. And just looking at the timing screen, the top three within a tenth of each other, and then we go back another 100th of a second, and then we've got P4, and we go back about another 0.2 of a second, and you're filling up the top six. And I wasn't quite expecting the cars to be, well, I knew they were going to be close, but for the top six to be that close, only in qualifying, and with still 8 minutes of the session to go, there's still time for drivers to go quicker and get closer together.
I know I'm a little bit biased for JDM cars, but there's something special about seeing a bit of Nippon steel in first place in a qualifying session. It's such a rare sight to see in the Assetto Corsa Cortisieri. So seeing a Nissan up front and seeing Jardier as well. I mean, Jardier and Jimmy, that team, they're sort of streamers first, competitors second, but it shows how fast they are because. Oh. Yes, look at that mid pack. We've got Michael in our ears telling us about what's happening on track. That mid pack, there are 2 tenths between so many cars in that midfield. So even though they're about a second off the pace of the front runners, that midfield battle is going to be so close. And if you're in that midfield battle, you can avoid incidents that a couple cars at the front crash. Who knows? You can make it to that top 2 and you can make it to Spa.
You can indeed. Look at Ryan Whitlock in the number 889, driving towards the line behind the wheel of his BMW M6. What can he do? Crosses the line now, currently 1.7 seconds away, improves by what was about 0.4 of a second, and 0.4 of a second has put him up 9 places, up into provisional P13. We're now looking at James again in the number 349. Let's see what he can do.
We're in the 20s.
Improves that time by, going into turn 1, outbrakes himself, and like you say, Luke, we are now into the 1 minute 20s.
That is a heck of a lap for Benedetti. Honestly, I could see that lap being pole time because that is absurd. And you see the Porsches still at the top, but you've got the honourable Nissans, the Merc just hiding in 9th place, BMW in 5th. There's so many cars here that are competing. And I think really all those top 10 are still capable of putting that lap in. You know, a second is, you know, maybe you meet a bit of traffic in the end of the lap, or you have to go slightly offline for a corner just because there's a car in the way. There is always traffic around here. But managing to put a 20, it means either you've got to have a heck of a run, with a tow behind a car, you've got a couple of tenths out of that, or you've got a perfect lap in terms of traffic management. Werner Nolan here approaching last turn, 15th place. He's up on his fastest lap time, so expecting a bit of a jump. Looking about 3 tenths to make it into top 10. And can he do it for now? He can. He makes it 8th place. Only 9 tenths off the top. Another Mercedes into the top 10 now.
Yeah, and the 2 Mercedes we've got in the top 10 are very, very close on pace at the moment. It seems like the manufacturers grouped together because Porsche's towards the top 3 in the top 4. Nissans, there's 2 in the top 6. Mercedes are nose to tail P7, P8. Porsche are nose to tail P9 and P10. So it seems like even with this being an open setup race, the manufacturers all group together when they have to. We're still riding on board with Van der Molen to see what he can do this time by on his last lap. Now looking at Daniel Ferreira behind the wheel of his number 100 Ferrari, going down the Rahal straight on the run up to the corkscrew, arguably one of the most important corners on the circuit. Make sure you can see where people have been locking up, trying to gain every little tenth of a second going into the corkscrew. He's currently in P15, and see what he can do to improve his lap time. His fastest lap so far is a 1 minute 22.218, going through the penultimate corner, now into the final corner, turn 11, the left-hander hairpin, using all the circuit on the exit. What can he do as he's driving towards the line now? He's currently 1.3 seconds from the lead. He does improve his time and does improve his position, 3 tenths quicker, promotes him from P15 to P13. So a good little improvement there, and we're now looking at Dominic Illinger.
And you just see, I think it was turn 6 with the blind left-hander. He just missed the apex a little bit, and really you lose so much time on the straight by doing that, because you have that sausage curb where every other corner on the track you're thinking, miss the sausage curb, miss the sausage curb. You come to turn 6, then you'd smack the sausage curb as hard as you can to maximise your momentum through the corner, and he just missed it. I think maybe lost a tenth or two there, but that tenth or two, if he can find that puts him all the way up to 8th place. So it's so competitive just for that sort of edge in the top 10 right now. Benedetti with that 20.8 is a little bit ahead of the rest of the field, a minute 3/10 to second place. But I do feel like a clean lap with no traffic and all those guys just behind him can really compete. But if they can't, still we've got so much competition for that. To get into the top 10, to get into the top 50, to get into the top 20, and so on. So it's pretty awesome to see how tight this is.
Definitely, it is great to see just in qualifying how competitive the field is. But qualifying, it is good for the start of the race and the opening couple of stints, but you can be quick over a lap. But in endurance racing, you need to be quick over a stint. Keep it consistent, maybe just drop back, whether it's a couple of tenths a lap. If you can comfortably sit there and bang in those 1 minute 22s, maybe 1 minute 21s during the race on your race setup, and making use of the strategy with the 6 tyre sets you have available, and then working through the strategy with the other drivers. Obviously, with there only being a set amount of time you can spend in the car, if you can nail the strategy and just be quick, clean and consistent, that is what is going to be the key to success here. And I was expecting Darren King to come around the final corner and post in an even quicker lap time, but nothing happened there. Dived into the pits, and I don't think he'll be able to get back out unless he picks up a fresh set of boots and heads out for one final flying lap. Now riding on board with Jaroslav Honzik-Jardiet in the number 39 Nissan. Can he improve his position, or can he improve his time first? Because if he improves his time, he needs to improve by over 3.5 tenths of a second to even get into provisional pole position. And we know Yaroslav's quick and he's got the potential. Now he backs out of that one. Is he just trying to let some traffic by and get some clean air? He is indeed. So Luke, going on to a flying lap here aboard Jardiet's Nissan, what do you think he can do?
Well, I think this is his real opportunity to get first place. We've got 2 minutes left. This should be his last lap. The final corner looked good for his entry to the start of the lap. Right? Braking with the curb again. Braking zone looks good. Can he reach the apex? Yeah, he kisses it nicely. Gets a bit of throttle to rotate the car. Another good curb. Runs all the way right, so it's looking good so far. Again, braking with the 2 board. Come into the curb. Apexes nicely. It's looking good. It's looking good. I think this could be the lap. If he can just sort of stay clean, hit every apex. Just drive what he did before, but make sure he gets every apex perfect. You want to carry momentum through here now. Braking with the 2. Get to that inside curb. Looks good. Carry momentum, because that uphill drive, the cars hate it. When you're going uphill, the engines do not want to accelerate. The blind turn here. Can he hit that sausage curb on the inside and keep the car momentum? He misses it slightly, so maybe a little bit of time lost there. Getting past the left-hand side of the track. Braking zone with the 2 board. We see nice braking zone. Cuts in. You use as much curb as possible, but you don't want to go off track there, because that is where you can just abort your lap. If you run too far over the curb, immediately the lap doesn't count. So using as much as he can without disqualifying himself. The board's actually gone on the left, so the braking zone is missing. Oh, he hit the curb and he's gone off. Oh, yeah. If he gets a bit of a Michael's saying away, he does have time for one more lap. He's going to go again. The lap looked good. I honestly think that was a good enough lap, maybe to at least compete for pole. If he hadn't hit that sausage curb, it's such a dangerous game to play where you're trying to get all the way to those sausage curbs without bumping over them. So again, running down for his second attempt, braking with the curb. The brake marker's gone, but the curb's still there, so you can use it. He hits both apexes nicely, and Andretti's looking good. It's one of the corners where the Nissan usually isn't great, but with that front engine and understeer, so being able to hit both apexes nicely is a good sign that A, your setup's working, and B, you've sort of got the track down to a T.
Yeah, like I say, the setup really is behind him. At this point, the car's pitching in very nicely as the session ticks past its time limit. So this will be the last lap he has available to him. He'll have to make sure he nails the lap. It looks like the car was squirming a little bit on the exit of turn 5 on the run up to the hill to this all-important turn 6. Nails the sausage curb that time. Runs a little bit wide, but I don't think that will have affected his lap time. Just using a bit of extra track. It might have helped his momentum up the hill. Hard on the brakes in towards the corkscrew. There we go. He appears on the left side of your screen now, going over both the curbs. Sparks flying from the underside of his Nissan. He's got to make sure he nails this final sector. He made a mistake here on the lap prior through the penultimate corner, through turn 10. What does he do this time? Gets it right, drops a wheel onto the gravel, but it doesn't look like that will have affected him too much. Round turn 11, the final corner. Boots the car, or boots it towards the start finish line. What can he do? He's on his way to the line now, crosses the timing beam. Can he improve his time? I don't think he did, no. So Jaroslav Honzik, 2 tenths slower on his fastest lap time. And speaking of tenths, I was just looking at the timing screen. The top 11, or top 12 now, separated by 1 second. Go back another half a second, and and you get right the way down to P23. And look at that. That's Adrian Antomarchi going up into P16, only 1 second away from the pole time. And just looking at those times on the left-hand side, you can see how close these drivers are just in qualifying, and it's crazy to see, and I can't wait for the race.
Yeah, what a lap though from Benedetti. Purple in every sector, all three. I mean, you really see where that car excelled. It made a 10th up in sector 1. It pretty much made time everywhere, versus everyone else. Puts it 3/10 on pole. That's a good sign for the race. But as we've been saying, it's an 8-hour race. The track position is nice. It's difficult to overtake here. But a Porsche on pole in qualifying, it was Porsche's top 10 pretty much. Well, is that half of top 10? Yeah, half of top 10 is a Porsche. So that car really going well around here. But you have to remember that these guys are trying to qualify for Spa. Right? So the Porsche is not bad at Spa. It's not great, but it's really not. I wouldn't say it's not one of the cars that people don't like about Spa, but you're looking at Audis, Mercedes really that sort of dominate the Spa race, right? So I'm curious to see whether those kind of teams would be as competitive if they made it, or whether by choosing a car that maybe runs better here than it does at Spa, they're sort of compromising themselves for the 24 hours if they should make it.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. You can see towards the bottom end of the order now, we're looking at the results from qualifying, and you can just see, the drop off, the top 30 within 1.9 seconds of each other, and then the gaps get really, really, really big. So whether people have been just sat there trying to keep it clean, as we've heard, some teams are just doing this for a bit of fun. It's free entry. Get out there, get an endurance race under your belt. If you don't get a great result, or you don't get up there to the pointy end, well, you've enjoyed yourself. You've been in a very, very competitive field, and it's all experience. And if you plan on entering more and more endurance races, it really will pay to that. But looking at the top end of the order, the 1 minute 20.850 set by Andrea was really, really something. And we go into the second of the 2 free practice sessions the drivers have available, which I think brings an end to this qualifying stream. So we will have the race stream starting at 10 to 1 in Central European time, 10 to 11 for those of you watching along in the UK. But Luke, going off qualifying, what do you think's in store for us during the race?
Well, I think we're going to have a tight race for that top 3, right? As you said, there's so many cars within a second of the pole time, and I think the Porsche is probably the best hot lap car here, right? But those BMWs, the Mercedes, even the Nissans, if you've got it set up right, they're all really good in the race. So I'm expecting everyone's going to be a lot closer to Benedetti on pole, and we should see sort of a 10, maybe even 15 car fight for those top 3 spots. But also with that drop off towards the back of the field, you're going to be hitting traffic quite quick. You're looking at maybe at the end of the first stint, which we're expecting 30 to 32 laps in a stint, right? So at the end of your first stint, you're going to be hitting traffic earlier if there's some incidents at the start. And really, I think the sort of making it to the top 3 versus not making it, it's going to all be about how well you deal with that traffic. Do you avoid any incidents with them and any damage you get? Any times you get stuck behind a car and you lose a second or 2 on the lap, that really compromises you versus the people around you. So being fast through traffic is really going to be the difference maker at that top.
Yeah, 100%. I'm really looking forward to what we've got in store for us during the race, but that does bring an end to our qualifying session. Please don't go away. We haven't got long until the race stream starts again, about a 20-minute break until the stream starts, and then half an hour before we get right back into the action. So please don't leave us. We will be back very, very shortly, but from myself, Luke, and Michael here at the SimGrid, we will see you very, very shortly after a very eventful qualifying session for the 8 hours of Laguna Seca.